What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Anime Uproar. I am your host, AxelBeats, and one of the coolest parts of Chainsawman is easily the devils. There are so many, and they vary so much that breathes constant life into the series. Within Chainsawman Part 1 alone, there is well over 40 devils that fill out the 97 chapters, so you're basically getting a new one every other chapter, and I just think that's pretty rad. So today, we're going to be talking about all the devils which show up in Part 1. There are obviously going to be spoilers ahead for the anime only, but in reality there's only one or two big spoilers, so I'll leave those for last and I'll give you a warning before we get there. Otherwise, I'll just be talking more about what the devils look like and what they're generally able to do. Of course, if you enjoy Chainsaw Man content and you want to see more on the channel, remember to leave a like and subscribe for more content in the future. But with all that out of the way, let's start things off with the Marshmallow Devil. So luckily for my sanity while making this video, while there are a ton of different devils in the series, many of them don't really get a lot of screen time and there isn't much to say about them. But this is a good time for me to mention how devils work, as the Marshmallow Devil is actually a pretty good example. All devils' strength comes from the fear that humanity associates with that identity. The more scary that something is, the more powerful the associated devil named after that fear is as a result. And as marshmallows aren't particularly frightening, the Marshmallow Devil is pretty weak, only being represented as a puffy white ooze. In general though, there are a kind of rule of thumb set of abilities for all devils. Firstly, they are all nearly immortal. While they can die, after actually passing they will go to hell, and if they die there, they'll be reincarnated on Earth. However, once they do this, they'll have an entirely different personality. All devils can heal by consuming blood, and their physical strength is proportional to the concept that they embody, almost always being stronger than humans by default though. So again, something like a lion devil would be crazy strong, while a marshmallow devil, not that powerful. The Marshmallow Devil itself is the first devil that Denji actually kills with the help of Pochita, and ultimately leads to his survival as devil hunting became Denji's most lucrative source of income for paying off his father's debt. The Tomato Devil looks much more terrifying, which leads me to believe that dislikes can also lean into a devil's strength, and not just specifically fear. Because while not many people are afraid of tomatoes, many people don't like them. And rather than just being a small red blob, the Tomato Devil is a huge red tomato covered with massive eyes, a vertical mouth, and a set of 8 human arms which act as legs. That said, while it looks more terrifying, it still isn't particularly strong. So disdain and dislikes might lean into how a devil looks, while fear is where it gets its power. That's my understanding at least. The Tomato Devil is the first devil that Denji kills in the story that we follow, but he's eliminated pretty quickly and we don't see his power being used. It is mentioned though that the Tomato Devil can regenerate itself so long as one of its seeds survives. And for the last of Denji's firsts, the Zombie Devil is the first devil that Denji defeats as Chainsaw Man. The first time that we hear about the Zombie Devil, the Yakuza that Denji is indebted to offered themselves as slaves to him in exchange for his power. The Zombie Devil himself looks like a massive grafted together corpse. He is a face planted on the chest of an appendageless torso being supported by his entrails. The Zombie Devil's main ability is to turn people into zombies that it gets total control over. Something to note is that if someone were to gain control over the Zombie Devil, or any other devil, they would also be able to use their abilities. The Muscle Devil was skipped over in the anime, but it was actually a pretty cool one. When Makima brings Denji to the ramen shop in the manga, Denji must go to deal with the Muscle Devil before he's able to eat. This devil kind of sets up an anglerfish-like trap for Denji. His abilities allow him to control and manipulate any muscles he touches, so he controls a young girl to use her as bait and lure Denji in to make him lower his guard. The Muscle Devil originally appears as a small snake-like dude. However, he's able to massively increase in size and strength by expanding his muscles. As I mentioned, he can completely manipulate any muscles he comes in contact with, and can even shred or break apart those muscles on someone else. Continuing on with these early devils, we have the Sea Cucumber Devil. This was a large pink gooey sea cucumber that had dozens of human fingers sprouting out of it, as well as a single human skull towards the top. We don't get to see a whole lot of this devil, as Power one-shots it and sprays it all over the street, but we do see that the civilians on site were struggling to deal with it. The Bat Devil is the one who stole Meowie from power, and is one of few recurring devils that we get in the series. He appears as a massive humanoid bat with sharp teeth to crunch down on people and wings that he's able to fly with. This devil seems to have a particularly sensitive sense of taste, as he is picky about who and what he eats, being disgusted by Denji and preferring to eat children. Something which might also be tied to his heightened sense of smell, which allows him to pinpoint humans at different points of the city. Aside from flight, the other big ability that this devil has is that he can turn his mouth into a cannon, which fires powerful bursts of air, strong enough to destroy buildings. And of course, the Bat Devil was dating the Leech Devil, which is just truly a blood-sucking match made in heaven. The Leech Devil, I'm gonna be real, I don't think I can show this on screen, so instead you're gonna have normal leeches, but this was a long leech with human legs and just like too many booba. And not the good kind of booba. After Denji kills the Bat Devil, the Leech Devil arrived enraged, although she does offer to spare him because he is cute. This devil didn't seem to have any particular special abilities other than being able to stab her tongue through Denji's chest, and it's probably safe to say she has some blood-sucking abilities as well, as she is a leech. On to the Fox Devil. While we don't know the full appearance of this devil, we do know that its head and arms are covered in large, monstrous eyes. This devil has contracts with several humans, offering to work for them in exchange for their flesh on each use. Aki, Nomo, Nakamura, and Hirokazu all have been shown to work with this devil. While the Fox Devil resides in Kyoto, the Devil Hunters are able to summon parts of its body to nearly any location to attack and devour other devils. That said, he doesn't like to eat hybrid devils because they taste bad. The Fish Devil is one we don't know a lot about in terms of abilities or personality, as we only get a look at it after Aki has killed it and removed part of the Gun Devil from it. The Fish Devil is the size of a large shark, with razor-sharp teeth, 2 tail fins, and 6 insect-like legs. So it's not exactly the prettiest of the devils. The first devil that really creeped me out in this series, though, is easily the Eternity Devil. This devil forms around its tiny core and has several eyes and mouths on either side of it. The most iconic ability of the Eternity Devil is to produce a pocket dimension within its stomach, trapping Denji and his group on one floor of a hotel which is infinitely looped. On top of this, time is stopped within this dimension, and the Eternity Devil is able to produce a body which can keep growing over time as it produces endless waves of flesh and appendages. Much like Denji, Katana Man is a hybrid except with the Katana Devil. That said, this is the only way that we know the Katana Devil exists. We don't actually know much about the devil itself, and it's kind of like guessing what Pochita was like based on Denji's transformation. On that note, the same can be said about several other hybrids throughout the series, including the Bomb Devil, the Crossbow Devil, the Longsword Devil, the Flamethrower Devil, the Spear Devil, and the Whip Devil, as they only appear in hybrid forms. When summoned, the Cursed Devil appears as a skeleton with 2 skulls, one looking human and the other looking demonic. It has large clawed hands and an expanded ribcage which can be used to surround and hold people in place. Once the victim is locked in, the skulls will clamp down on them, biting their shoulder and neck while their claws crush their arms. To summon this devil, someone must be stabbed with a curse spike 3 times. At which point the devil will appear and kill the victim. That said, we later see this needing 4 stabs, so it does differ depending on the contract the Cursed Devil has with each person. The cost of summoning the Cursed Devil is to offer up your lifespan or the use of specific body parts rather than flesh like it was with the Fox Devil. And with that, we are definitely into the stage of the story where devils just become more and more grotesque and terrifying as we go. The Snake Devil is a huge snake with a face made up of dozens of interlocking arms and hands where the teeth should be. This devil has a contract with Akane, and for the price of 4 fingernails, she can summon it to devour her enemies completely, or she can have the devil spit up that enemy and release them, which will cause her nose to bleed. It's pretty worth it though, as once released, the victim will be completely healed and forced to fight for the user. The Snake Devil's tail can also be summoned by the movement of the user's hands. The Ghost Devil is creepy as hell. It has this creepy, withered old woman's face with a sewn-shut mouth and eyes, this dirty, disheveled hair, and a body made of flowers with a bunch of arms being used as her legs, almost similar to the Tomato Devil. As this is the embodiment of the fear of ghosts, it's pretty powerful. Interestingly enough though, this devil also demonstrates fear of others, as the Ghost Devil is afraid of Katana Man at first and needs to be bribed into fighting. The Ghost Devil had a contract with Himeno for the price of her eye, which allowed her to use a ghostly hand which is intangible for others. However, the hand itself is able to interact with them. So for example, she's able to choke Power, but Power can't grab it to retaliate. Himeno is also able to give up more of her body to gain access to more of the Ghost Devil for a short time. Finally, this devil's eyes are sewn shut, so it is unable to see. Instead, it perceives the world around it by sensing fear. Unfortunately meaning that it can't see anyone who isn't afraid of her or just doesn't fear dying. The Future Devil, embodying the fear of the future, is obviously the one I'm most afraid of. This devil looks like a tree sprouting from the ground and growing into a scarecrow shape with arms spread out and a head that looks like it has antlers on it. Its chest has a chasm in the center of it with a giant eyeball in it as well, definitely adding to the creepiness. But if someone sticks their head into that hole, the devil is able to read that person's future. That said, this dude is kind of awesome and hilarious. He speaks in this very playful and fun way, which kind of counteracts how terrifying he is. He's always bragging about how he has the best future, and that just makes him a really enjoyable character in a weird way. The Future Devil was captured by the Devil Hunters and made contracts with two of them, one offering up half of his life while the other gave up his eyes, sense of taste, and sense of smell. It later makes a deal with Aki for the low price of being able to live in his right eye so that he can experience Aki's future firsthand. Next up is the Angel Devil, someone who is pretty interesting as they're one of the only devils who isn't directly hostile to humans, although he still does want them to die in pain. So you know, take the good with the bad. He considers himself a devil first and an angel second, even if physically he does look much more angelic, seeming like a normal dude with angel wings and a halo, and no real definable devil traits. The Angel Devil is able to absorb people's lifespan by touching them, he is fast enough to react to bullets, and his wings are strong enough to deflect those bullets. He can also turn siphoned lifespan into weapons with varying strength depending on how much energy he puts into them. All of this making him one of the cooler devils despite his simplicity. The Spider Devil is kinda horrifying, looking like a normal woman aside from her 8 fleshy legs and a zipper that divides her face in half. While she works as a devil hunter, she actively kills people who look at her the wrong way and shows no emotions in almost any situation. The Spider Devil is able to dive into the ground and pop up anywhere she'd like, but more interestingly is her ability to unzip her body to summon Makima directly to her, raising the question if she can summon anyone this way or only Makima. The Typhoon Devil looks like a giant with an exposed brain that has a tornado of brain matter swirling around them. This devil can produce storms strong enough to destroy buildings and send cars flying by spinning their guts around them, and can also produce rainstorms. Finally, this devil is also able to communicate through swirling water. The Pig Devil is one we see very little of. It's a large pig with 2 pairs of eyes, the first looking fairly normal, and the second being small ones above its snout. We don't get much else other than its appearance, as it's already died before appearing on screen. The Mold Devil is another we don't see physically, however, we do see 2 contracts being made with it. The contract holders can bite their hands until they bleed, point at something living, and create mold that grows inside of them to cause internal bleeding. Nothing else is really known about the Mold Devil. The Grape Devil, in line with the Marshmallow and Tomato Devil, is yet another weak devil. This one looking like a bunch of eyes connected with intestines rather than grapevines. And honestly, I'm kind of glad we don't see more of this one. The Skin Devil, you know, for people who are afraid of skin, has only been seen through contracts. If the contract holder touches a corpse, they are able to shapeshift into the appearance of that person. The Doll Devil spawned from the fear of anyone who slept at their grandmother's house as a child and had 40 of these things staring at them all night. It's a devil that has a contract with Santa Claus. We don't know the price of this contract, however, Santa Claus is able to create dolls that follow her orders. This will actually spread through contact with these dolls by anyone that they come across, with the exception of fiends and devils. We've seen these dolls turning one of their arms into blades, but Santa Claus needs to keep close to them in order to keep control over them. The claw, needle, and knife devils are more that we only see through contracts. However, even here we don't really get to see the specifics of their contracts being used. The octopus devil has only been seen through the use of its contract. However, we have seen it having an absolutely huge tentacle, implying that it itself is pretty massive. We don't know the price of using this devil, but the contract holder is able to summon parts of the octopus's body and make ink clouds to distract any attackers. Back to some of the big bad devils in the series, we have the Hell Devil, a flaming zombie-like centaur with splinters shooting off of its arms and a soldier's helmet. The Hell Devil, in exchange for sacrificing a few lives, can send everyone in an area directly to hell, manifesting an insanely large, six-fingered hand that descends from the sky and takes hold of those being sent to hell. People can also game over themselves in order to summon the Hell Devil directly to the earth. But of course, once people are in hell, they'll come across a devil embodying one of the primal fears, the Darkness Devil, a horrific amalgamation of body parts and bones forming wings and a totem pole-like head where they'll find a skull with horns reaching out of its eye sockets. Instead of legs, this devil has two complete zombified human bodies, and as this devil represents a primal fear, we know that it's never experienced death because it is so powerful. This devil can manipulate darkness freely, appearing anywhere it wants to within that darkness, and becoming unable to take damage while it is in that darkness. It can turn into and produce darkness, manifest bodies within that darkness, and conjure a blade of darkness which it can control with its mind. After being struck by that blade, the bells that are on that sword will cause hemorrhaging when they ring. On top of that, the Darkness Devil can stare at anyone, be they devil or human, and they will start hemorrhaging until they bleed to death. It can damage anyone simply by pointing at them. He is strong enough to mangle and twist Makima's arm, and can destroy severed body parts just by chanting. We see him forming a contract and giving the user a piece of his flesh, which significantly powers that person up, allowing them to transform and become invulnerable in darkness. This is easily one of the strongest and scariest devils we see, but goddamn is he cool. The Stone Devil looks like a gargoyle with a more demonic looking head. It has the interesting ability to petrify anything it touches, and if a contract is created with it and the user is standing in a special glyph on the floor, they're able to form a ring with their hands, blow through it, and petrify anyone in front of them. There does seem to be a limit on how many people it's able to do this for at once, though. This devil is also apparently very fickle with its contracts, though we have yet to see the actual price that people need to pay to use it. The Gun Devil, probably one of the most visually terrifying on this list, and by far the largest that we've seen, is the devil that can cause the most large-scale destruction alone and in the quickest time. This devil has a torso made up of countless screaming skulls which branch off into massive arms made of amalgamations of guns. His head is a large skull with jagged teeth and a revolver barrel standing out of its front, while his back is covered in more firearms, and where his legs should be are these long magazines of bullets dangling below him. And I feel like I'm really not selling just how big this guy is, but the rifles that make up his arms are the size of buildings, and this is just his 20% form. This devil first appeared in America, but then flew to Japan, where over a period of 26 seconds it killed nearly 60,000 people. In just the 5 minutes that it was around total, it killed just over 1.2 million before disappearing. This action was so horrific that it led not only to the fear of guns increasing, but the fear of devils in general, making all devils more powerful by proxy. After being taken down by some unknown force, it was split between the major world powers, and fragments of the gun would be found all over the world as devils would consume it to become more powerful and violent themselves. The Gun Devil moves so fast that we'll see parts of its flesh burning off as it's traveling. However, it does regenerate itself, so this is pretty mitigated. It can fire bullets through the heads of every adult man within 1,000 meters, every child within 1,500 meters, and the heart of every living thing born in January, February, March, May, June, August, September, November, and December within 1,000 meters, meaning that this is the only time that your horoscope sign has actually mattered. The punishment devil is yet another which is absolutely terrifying. This cluster of conjoined, severed, and disjointed human bodies, each carrying a different weapon, while the outermost bodies have extra arms to kind of form this mouth around the rest of them. There are plenty of devils that are made of these like blobs of human bodies, but not many of them have this weird level of incompleteness for each body, which just adds to the air of creepiness that this thing has. However, outside of how terrifying it is, we don't really know much about this devil at all. We know it had at least 2 contracts in the past, but we don't know what it allowed for the people or what the price that was associated with these contracts were. In terms of power, all we know is that it's strong enough to battle with the Gun Devil. However, that doesn't mean much considering all of the other devils that it teamed up with in that fight. The Mantis Devil is one that we only see partially, similar to the Octopus Devil. All we see is one large mantis sickle erupting from the ground, attempting to slash at Denji and Power. Despite this, it doesn't seem too powerful on its own, as they fend it off pretty easily. This devil has a contract with 2 unnamed public safety devil hunters, and its sickle is summoned by these contract holders clapping their hands. And of course, it is unclear if there's any more cost to summoning this devil or if it has other forms. And before we get into the big 2 spoilers, we also know that specific devils exist as we meet their fiends throughout the series. These being the Blood Devil, the Violence Devil, the Shark Devil, and a few unknown devils which reflect Cosmo, Pingsty, Long, and Tsukihagi. Anyways, big spoiler time. Last warning. 3, 2, 1. Makima is the Control Devil, embodying the fear of control and conquest. In terms of how she looks, Makima is designed to look exactly like Best Girl for some reason, typically seeming like just a pretty, normal human aside from her yellow eyes which have circles inside of them. Makima looks down on everything and everyone around her, with there only really being a few real exceptions, with the big one being the idea of Chainsawman, or more specifically, what he represents. She often looks at others the same way that an owner looks at their dogs, and outside of this, she's able to manipulate and scare everyone around her into doing exactly what she wants them to do. This manipulative personality, in combination with her strength and abilities, makes her easily one of the strongest devils in the series. Of all of her abilities, the Control Devil's most powerful is actually a pretty subtle one. Rather than something flashy, Makima is just able to force anyone that she sees as inferior to herself into making contracts with her. And if you think about all the prices that we've seen for contracts and the terms we've seen attached to them, in most cases people are typically willing to offer parts of their body in exchange for the power that those devils have to offer them. It's a system that is, in most cases, based on fair exchange. However, Makima breaks this rule. She doesn't need to offer anything in return, or at least not anything of real value. Like the Zombie Devil, Makima could trade for a person's entire bodily autonomy in a contract, with her offering them nothing in return, as she could force them to agree. Arguably one of the most important examples of a contract she has made is with the Prime Minister of Japan. In exchange for working for him, something which also just in general benefits her, the Prime Minister offers up his people as payment. And because of this, if Makima is fatally attacked, an illness will be passed to a random citizen of Japan so that she can revive herself in their stead. On top of this, anyone who is controlled by Makima will lose memories of the moments leading up to that control, as well as anything they did while controlled. And again, this works on anyone she sees inferior to her. This could be humans, devils, hybrids, fiends, animals, or even corpses. This control covers their actions, their thoughts, and can even extend to her borrowing their senses, for example, being able to hear through rats and birds and eavesdrop on conversations. Or she can just clump together these beings and transform them into herself for instant travel. And while this control can be broken, it's very rare that we see it happening. Finally, Makima, like the Darkness Devil, can emit an invisible force through her fingers with devastating power. This can be over a large distance if she has sacrifices and a good amount of setup, or she can do it in close range pretty freely by pointing at someone and saying, bang. something strong enough to eviscerate someone's body instantly. And finally, let's talk about the Chainsaw Devil. Our first exposure to the Chainsaw Devil sees him as an absolutely good boy with a chainsaw extending from his face. He becomes Denji's partner, and together they fight against devils. This is a near-death state for the Chainsaw Devil, and only exists as a result of a massive battle happening just before the series began. His first contract was a trade with Denji for his blood, and in return the Chainsaw Devil, or Pochita, would help him pay off his debt. The second contract they form involves Pochita becoming Denji's heart in exchange for watching Denji's dreams come true. Now, notably, I skipped over details for most of the other hybrids that we talked about, and I'm probably going to do the same with Chainsawman, because in his chainsaw form, he's really just a dude who can grow a few chainsaws on his arms and face, as well as like the normal devil strength and regeneration. But what we do need to talk about is his normal form, which is this large, four-armed man with chainsaws on each arm and one coming out of his head, with this form extending intestines from his stomach and wrapping around his neck like a scarf. And just like in the hybrid form, the Chainsaw Devil can use his chains to entrap or tangle up enemies, as well as using them to get around, similar to a mini version of Spider-Man's webs. The Chainsaw Devil is one of the strongest that the story has to offer. He's called the devil that other devils fear most, and is second only to the primordial devils like the Darkness Devil. But while he is deadly and extremely strong, this isn't what makes him so powerful. The reason that all devils fear him is that he has the ability to erase them. If the Chainsaw Devil consumes another devil, their name will vanish from the minds of people on the planet, and since a devil's power is based on the fear that they represent, if no one remembers that they exist, they lose all strength and vanish themselves. That said, we do see one devil that he consumed returning to life, but that's more of a Chainsaw Man Part 2 issue. Some concepts or devils which have vanished include World War II, Nazis, AIDS, nuclear weapons, and things of that variety. And even eating part of a devil can have an effect. For example, he consumed part of the War Devil, and while the concept of war remained in the public mind, no war had been waged since then. On top of that, if Chainsaw Man happens to vomit up one of these concepts, those will return to the world as well, a set of powers obviously making him extremely important to the path humanity takes going forward. And with that out of the way, that's all of them. Every devil mentioned or seen in the entirety of Chainsaw Man Part 1, covering up to chapter 97 of the manga. And while there are several standouts, I think that the Darkness Devil, the Control Devil, and the Eternity Devil are easily my favorites. They just have such unique and interesting storytelling devices tied to their characters, while also being pretty terrifying in their own rights. But which ones are your favorites, and which ones would you form a contract with? Let me know in the comments down below, as well as suggesting future videos that we can make for Chainsaw Man content that you would like to see. If you enjoyed this video though, remember to leave a like to let us know to keep more content like this coming, as well as subscribing so you can be notified when we post something so you'll never miss a future upload. Or if you would like to support me directly, you can check out my own channel, AxelBeats, where I've been doing a villain analysis series, and even did a video talking about the philosophy behind Denji's character in Chainsaw Man. I think you'd really enjoy those, so if you're looking for something a bit different, you could definitely check those out. With that being said though, thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, I hope you all stay excellent.